We're back with Season 6, Episode 15, excuse me. I forgot to update the thing, as usual. There. Now the thing is updated. This is the episode in which Rainbow Dash runs around pranking everybody. Then there's a zombie apocalypse. It's okay. Turns out alright. Where do I start? Alright, so let's start with the beginning. I just want to share a funny little thing. So I usually run with subtitles on. It's just a preference thing. I tend to like having subtitles on. It helps me to catch things or make sure I'm understanding words properly, or it helps with the audio balance issues in some cases. S.A. Ross is actually here. I thought you wouldn't be here. And you're going to hate me for this one, S.A. Ross. So I have subtitles on at the very beginning. And it says rarity, colon, while Fluttershy is talking. I don't know if that's on purpose or not. It's probably a screw-up, but it amused me enough that I just had to share it. I wonder if that's true on any other version of this episode. Anyways, so the episode starts off right at the beginning by being terrible. Rainbow pranks Fluttershy. You know what? That's not good enough. Rainbow really pranks Fluttershy. She doesn't be like, I accidentally put invisible ink on something or whatever. No. This is a full-on, an eldritch creature is here to kill you from the dark kind of a prank, which isn't funny to begin with. And even Rainbow admits that there's no enjoyment in it. Are you happy with yourself? No, because you're too easy. What? Point number 1. Fluttershy is afraid of Boo. Now, I could buy Fluttershy being afraid of all the rest. I could, absolutely. But Fluttershy being afraid of Boo is, I know it's a random joke, but it's still a character assassination-y joke. It's the kind of thing we would expect from Season 1 or 2 Fluttershy, not Season 6. Problem number 2. Rainbow Dash pranks mean-spiritedly, as I already pointed out. This isn't a prank. This is messed up, what she's doing. This is basically a straight-up Halloween thing, which could fit in a Halloween thing, but it's not. So this is a prank, except it's a terrible prank. And again, even Rainbow admits this. Which brings us fully into point 3. Rainbow Dash is doing a mean-spirited prank on Fluttershy. While even admitting that there's no point in it. So, let's go ahead and add 2 counter-continuity counters right now. Just before the title even rolls. Before we even have the opening credits. God, that's just... Moving on. We come back from the title. Rainbow Dash still doesn't get it. Fluttershy calls a group here. Hear me out, Act. I'm sure S.A. Ross is going to hate my thoughts here, too. Fluttershy calls a meeting of the whole group. The whole main 6. Now, I want to really frame that for just a second. I want you to imagine that you have a group of friends. Probably not that hard to understand. I want you to imagine that you pull in someone to... You pull all of that group together because something has really bothered you that one of those other people have done, okay? Like, just put yourself into that headspace. Think about what it would take for you to call all your friends together to call out one person. By the way, I didn't mention this earlier, but this is a good time to point out that when Fluttershy was scared earlier, she was literally hyperventilating. So yeah, as Ect points out, if you have reached a point where your whole group of friends is calling you out, or rather has been called together because one of them is calling you out, you have screwed up something rather starkly. Now, this already sucks. It gets worse immediately, because the very next thing that happens is Kay shows up and hates good television, so he leaves. But it's okay, I don't blame you, Kay. So, what immediately happens is what I would call bad writing. Now, S.A. Ross kind of mentioned earlier that the only person who isn't out of character is Glimmer, because Glimmer isn't in this. This is not quite an inaccurate statement. Fluttershy is already out of character for reasons we've already mentioned, but only a little bit. I'm willing to forgive that, honestly. That's a minor thing, aggregate negative. But what then happens is predominantly Applejack and Rarity hammer in a point. Let me try this again. Let me really focus on this. Fluttershy is actually angry here. If you pay attention during the scene around the table, she is glaring at Rainbow Dash every time she shows up. Just glaring at her. Fluttershy is obviously legitimately rather upset about this. This leads to Pinkie Pie being out of character because Pinkie Pie is someone who cares a great deal about other people and making them laugh. Now, Pinkie Pie enjoys a good joke on her own. In fact, what's really weird is the episode gets that perfectly, in a thing I'll mention later. This very episode gets Pinkie Pie quite correct. But in this scene, Pinkie Pie is almost the opposite of how she normally would be, because she's like, oh, but it's super funny. It doesn't matter if the other person finds it funny, if you find it really, really, really funny, right? This then leads to the whoopee cushion gag. Really quick thing. I do think whoopee cushions, that is to say flatulence humor, are literally joke shortcuts. It's the lowest possible form of humor. I've never found flatulence humor funny, and I never will. And to be perfectly frank, I'm not even sure there is such a thing as a good flatulence joke, because the whole point of it is as broad of humor as it actually exists. Remember, I've studied humor. We've actually talked about this recently. I've actually gone into the frickin' math and formulas of how humor is constructed. Flatulence humor is as broad and narrow, that is to say, no depth whatsoever to it, as it gets when it comes to humor. So, they do this. Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash not only find this hysterical, whatever, but then they are insulted when they are called out for how pathetic of a joke it is, which it is. This then leads to what actually starts to piss me off. Like, I'm already not exactly fond of this, what they're doing here. But then, rather than focusing on... Oh, I forgot to put out the announcement in thing. Oops. Rather than focusing on the whole point of this meeting, which is, you terrified your friend, instead they all say, well, you're lazy. And you'll notice the moment they mention that, the moment it's like, oh, you're not going to put any work into it, that immediately becomes the focus of the topic. And everyone immediately starts talking about how you haven't actually done the work effort, or you're not really put the work in and all that. And that is, I'm saying this wrong. The focus shifts effortlessly and immediately from you hurt your friend to you're not doing it properly. So this is where Rarity and Applejack are both out of character, is they hammer this point in multiple times, insisting that if Rainbow Dash is not willing to put the actual effort in to do a real prank, then she might as well not even bother, since that's totally the point of this conversation. I should mention that this episode was written by two people. Megan McCarthy, long-standing vet who has a lot of good and bad in her thing. Like she helped with Flutterbrudder, but she also did, like, she's had purples, she's had reds, she's had oranges, yellows, greens, and a blue. She has literally been all across the gamut with regards to quality, so that's whatever. And a brand new person, F.M. DeMarco, who has never actually written for them before. Just wanted to mention that really quick, because so what we do know is that the original story was written by Megan McCarthy, and it was put to screenplay by the new guy, Mr. DeMarco. I have no idea what came from whom. I just wanted to mention that. Anyways, so after the immediate shift of topic to, hey, you should totally do this, I should mention there's a quick point here. They actually mentioned this point 4 times in this episode. A prank isn't funny if both people aren't laughing. For the reference, I do think that's a decent enough message. Mostly for kids, kind of applies to adults, but it's mostly a kid thing. A good prank really is the kind that the prankee will be laughing about once they realize it's been a prank. Right? And that is actually a decent message that should be mentioned there. Moving on. So then we see sewing machine cake. Oh my god. I go to hug my wife. She is cake. Sorry. I think this predates that meme, actually. Apparently the sewing machine cake is really good, too. Go figure. Hi, Mother Merced. So then we have the whole gotcha thing. And yeah, and you know what? I agree with that. Dark humor perfectly fits with that else. Like, if you do a joke about some guy killing himself, I'll usually laugh about that because I find that kind of humor funny. But I know plenty of people who wouldn't. You know? You know your audience, right? Anyways, read the room. That's another phrase. So, let's see here. So, Rarity, they do the cake for Rarity, which is just whatever. Then, she gets AJ out to the pig pen without waking her up. I have absolutely no idea how she does that. But I wrote down a list, and this is, of course, important. Rarity, Applejack, Cranky, Spike, who is suddenly a moron, because we all know Spike either has a brain or doesn't, depending on the episode. Big Mac, Mr. Cake, and Cheerilee. What's the consistent pattern here? I'll just tell you what it is. None of them are laughing. Way back in the last prank episode, which I think was season 1, it's been a long frickin' time, one of the recurring elements was that the prankee was laughing. It's like, oh, you got me. You know, right? None of them are laughing here. I should probably also mention that one of the pranks is slipping a brick into a sandwich. By chance, have you ever experienced that? I haven't, of course, not a brick. But I have experienced a chunk of metal being in a burger, specifically. Don't ask. That hurts. And in case I have to explain why, it's because you're not expecting it. We as humans, when we're babies, we don't really know how to control ourselves. One of the things we do as we grow up is we learn muscle control. Not just the ability to clench, but to clench at a certain rate, at a certain pace, and with a certain strength. We do it completely unconsciously. And this is why I'm pointing this out, because most of you probably don't even think about how much work goes into taking a bite of a piece of food. But you do it because you and your brain have already calculated, okay, all of that is a degree of effort about how wide you open your mouth, and how much effort you're putting into closing it, and what kind of resistance you're expecting based on the food you're eating. It's all stuff that's just completely subconscious by the time you're like 8 or 9, to be honest with you. But the point is, it's just something you do, right? Now, the reason that's relevant is if you are expecting a hung, and what you're actually getting is a huh. Like, just do that really quick. Feel the muscle difference between a full bite and biting into something really tough, like a piece of hardtack or something. Like, you'll notice your entire jaw structure is different when you do it. Why am I bringing this up? Because when you bite down hard on something that's hard, that hurts everything. Your muscles were completely not expecting that, and your teeth weren't expecting that. So every step of the way is just, ugh! That hurts. And again, I can say that from personal experience, never mind the science behind it, which I just tried to explain in a very piss-poor fashion. Now, I'm pointing out that one specifically because that's probably the most mean-spirited of the pranks. The other ones are things that are usually more like Gwaihir over there. Like, Gwaihir pranks me all the time by donating for Bloodstained. I'm not sure why he does that. Also, Bloodstained has already funded Gwaihir, so I'm afraid you actually can't donate for that. But if you'd like to put that towards something else, please let me know. And thank you for the sub, as always. But yeah, this, I don't know, maybe it's just me. Nier, I can do Nier. Like, thank you again. All of these are not exactly good pranks, but most of them are just kind of whatever, except for the giant boulder, which I'm a little bit weirded out that A, she can carry without incident, and B, Big Mac couldn't drag without incident, but again, he wasn't prepared for it, so he wasn't putting the effort and strength necessary in order to counteract that force, so that actually makes sense, so never mind. You ever been sprayed by a skunk, by the way? That's another thing I've actually experienced. Because, you know, I used to live in a rural area. That's fun. I've never been sprayed by a skunk inches from my nose, so I can only imagine on that front. Now, forgive me for hammering this point in, but I'm hammering this point in for the exact same reason I kept hammering in the whole point of why Zephyr Breeze bothered me so damn much back in the Flutter Brother episode. Because they go way too far with this. As I said, this is a bit of an exaggeration problem. This is ridiculous. This then leads to something really weird. Some of you may have heard me say a phrase. That phrase is something along the lines of, and this is where the episode totally loses me. You ever heard me say that? You've probably heard me say that a lot, because I've said that in Star Trek, and I've said that in Clone Wars, and I've said that in MLP, right? It's a semi-common thing. This is the opposite of that. This is why I remembered this episode fondly, is because the moment we get to the point where we see Pinky's prank, which I'll talk about in a second, the episode just spontaneously starts being good. Out of absolutely nowhere. Let's go through this, okay? These might as well be two separate episodes. Even the literal narrative constructive style of the first half to the second half is completely different. So hear me out for a moment. So, first of all, we have an actually good joke with Pinkie Pie being in character. What happens? So the whole town gets together to confront Pinkie Pie. They say, hey, we need you to get to her. She's been pranking everyone. Didn't they prank you? Oh, yeah, she got me good. And we see the exact prank, which is just Rainbow Dash hanging there going, boo. Now, that's appropriate, because that is in character for both Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie. Low effort, right? And Rainbow Dash knows that. And so that's exactly right in just about every way. That's exactly the kind of prank that both would appreciate, and both do. So this then leads to Pinkie Pie goes to be like, Rainbow Dash, you know, we need to talk. Can I go ahead and mention that I would totally be down for, like, rainbow cookies? Just in general, you know? Ironically, Pinkie Pie, I'm going to say that one more time, Pinkie Pie doesn't find the idea of rainbow mouthing the whole town particularly funny, but whatever. But like I said, this is when the episode suddenly starts getting good. How many of you ever heard me talk about suspense? Because I bring it up constantly. So we've got audience, we've got the characters, right? Now what we have here is two separate constructs of the three that exist. So there's we know they don't. We know they do. We don't know they do. We don't know they don't know. Sorry, there's four. I always forget there's a fourth one. I almost never do the other one. This is classic Hitchcockian suspense to style here. Because what we have here is a weird combination of three of these, which is why I screwed up the number here. First, there's we know they don't. We know Rainbow Dash is going to prank them all, and the characters don't know that. Then there's we don't know and they know, which is which is exactly the pranking thing that's going to be happening. And then my personal favorite, we don't know and they don't know. This is specific to Rainbow Dash. Sorry, I'm saying this wrong. Let me rewind here a second. We know Rainbow Dash knows. Because there's actually all four, I just realized this. We know and Rainbow Dash knows she's going to prank them. We know and... hang on, so we know Rainbow Dash knows. We know and the prankees don't know that Rainbow Dash is going to prank them. We don't know and Rainbow Dash doesn't know that she's about to be pranked, and we don't know and the prankees know that Rainbow Dash is about to be pranked. All four are actually present here. All four styles of suspense are really well constructed here. Now, the big one is we don't know, they don't know. We don't know what's going on. Rainbow Dash doesn't know what's going on. That's the one that's primarily focused here. And so they go really far out of their way to make this look like it's not a prank. There's even a few moments of narrative cheating where we see, for example, when Rainbow Dash rushes off, everyone else just looks at each other weird like, where's she going? But of course that makes sense because they're still playing since Rainbow Dash is still in range. Or when Rainbow Dash peeks into the window, one of the ponies just kind of starts zombie walking across the window. But again, that makes sense. So it doesn't get any it doesn't get any dinged any points because that pony is acting in character in that moment because they know Rainbow Dash is there and might look in the window. So they just stay in character, right? All of this is extremely well constructed. It's bizarre, actually. I kind of missed over the montage. Sorry, there's actually a good montage there. Hang on. So where are we at? We got the montage of buying cookies. Fluttershy has the bodyguard bear, which is awesome. You notice Spike wants to buy a whole bunch of cookies because of course he does. The Doodles get 2, 1 for each of them. Big Mac buys like 6 because of course he does, etc., etc. There's like half-second little bits in that montage which are really well constructed and perfectly fit the character in question. Then we have oh my god, this is brilliant. Let me share a moment here. Did you know that my niece has known about zombies for like 5 years now, since she was pretty young overall? Because zombies are just so commonplace in cultural zeitgeist, it's almost impossible to avoid them. She's not afraid of zombies per se, although she probably would be in a properly scary zombie thing. But I mention that because I think the approach here works quite well, because most of the kids watching this, and all the adults watching this, are going to know what zombies are. They're going to recognize all the telltale signs. And you notice they do have all the telltale signs. Like the person who's turned around, you can only see their back and you hear the munching sounds. And the camera angles, which don't quite show their faces, so you can't see any of the discoloration, right? The tripping on the debris on the ground. Something popping out of a cupboard. By the way, can I just absolutely gush about the effort that was put into the camera angles and the lighting and the animation during this sequence? It's absolutely brilliant. I cannot gush enough about it. This is some of the best stuff I've seen in the whole show. No joke. Like, seriously, just from a cinematography perspective, it's insane. I can't imagine how much work this is to put together from a technical perspective. And just in case you were getting wigged out by this whole thing, and any of the kids in the audience going, there's this bit where Pinkie Pie has come out, and then we see the babies who are so cute. The cake babies. And they're adorable. And it's like a little deflator. Just in case anybody in the audience, probably the young kids, were getting a little bit too wigged out by what's going on, because they do a good job of showcasing Mrs. Cake and Pinkie being zombies. We have the babies just to kind of soothe out the tension. Brilliant. Then Rainbow's rushing around and she's got the sweat drops and she's freaking out, and her expression, her actual pupils get smaller. Did you notice that? Bit by bit, from this point until the end where the prank is revealed, her pupils just get smaller and smaller and smaller in each scene. It's a brilliant little touch there. So then it's did you notice that Spike is the only one who actively overacts? Everyone else is a pretty convincing zombie, but Spike is like, rah! He almost blows it. In fact, I swore he was going to it on second viewing, but he didn't, obviously. Big Mac crosses his eyes. They have a zombie car chase, for God's sakes, just to do that, just to really hit all the points. And they have the lighting coming through the window and arms, cookie. And of course, you have to hit the final zombie movie cliche. You're in the safe house. You've locked away the windows. Everything's cut up tight. We just have to hold out until morning. But the zombies are already inside. Da, 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 da. Love the music here, really. Absolutely gush. So now that I'm done just gushing about an incredible chunk of the episode, then the episode loses me again. Not as badly as the first part, but it just kind of goes... It just drops in quality immediately. There's a line where... Oh yeah, Zombie Granny Smith was amazing. We already ate them. No. So they say the theme of the episode, which if you're paying attention, this is now the second time they've said this. It was supposed to be funny. This isn't funny at all. Exactly. Okay, so we've covered that point again. Nice. There's some good animation and camera work here. Little stuff. You notice there's expressions that change on the ponies who aren't talking, you know, in the background, all this. You know, nice technical stuff. And then they rehash the point. And then they rehash the point. That's 4 times total. They rehash the overall theme. And then Rainbow Dash is like, and now I'm going to have to get you back. Gotcha. Wah wah. Totally a wah wah. That absolutely deserves to be a wah wah. Let's jot that down here. Really quick. And I'm going to throw out another counter-continuity counter for just generally screwing up so many characters. While we're on the subject. There we go. So how the... And then we're done. What the hell? This is actually the most bipolar episode of MLP I've ever had to cover. This reminds me of Voyager. There's an episode of Voyager where it's called The Swarm. And it's one of the first times this occurred to me. And for some reason, I keep looking back to this and saying, and using this as the example of this. Because for those of you who don't remember, in the episode The Swarm, the A plot was terrible and the B plot was awesome. It was so bipolar. It didn't know what to make. It was so hard. You know, if I was reviewing it, I'm not sure how I would review that. Because it's like, same problem here. First part of the episode, as I think my tone made clear, is so bad that it approaches Flutter Brother area for me. The middle to last part of the episode is so awesome that I couldn't stop gushing about it. And then it just kind of peters out at the end. Now I agree with Raskor. They probably just wanted to do the zombie thing and are like, here. And they wanted to do the you know, the sugar-sweetened zombie apocalypse thing, because of course you do. Because you can't have actual zombies in MLP, right? Now, I do not think this is a lamentation. I can't think an episode that I enjoyed, a huge chunk of it as a lamentation. It doesn't work that way. There's just this huge chunk of awesome in the middle there. I will probably rewatch this episode sometime just to rewatch the zombie section, because it is extremely well done. But since lamentation is off the page, what do we actually rate this as? And I admit, I'm not sure what to make of this one. Well, the good news is I can't do that, Mr. Red. I'm leaning towards green. The character assassination early on is really bad. And again, it's not just Rainbow Dash. It's character assassination for almost all of them. And the only reason I say almost is because Twilight doesn't really have any moments, and of course Starlight isn't even present. I feel like this has come up before. I'm trying to remember where. What we're seeing here is pretty much... I guess this is a bit of the cloud effect going on here. This premise is terrible, but the result is awesome. But it's not quite the cloud effect. I feel like there's another thing that covers this. I feel like there was a game we played that was just like this. You know what? I could share a movie that was like this. How many of you have ever seen Pirates of the Caribbean 4? I don't remember the subtitle. Don't ask me. Now, for those of you who haven't seen Pirates of the Caribbean 4, I will never forget how I felt going through that, because the first 30 minutes were terrible. Just, like, aggressively unfunny. Yeah, the Fountain of Youth one. Aggressively unfunny. Bad characterization. Over-exaggerated, like, winking at the camera. And just bad writing. 100%. To the point where I was actually, like, sis, do you want to leave? And she's like, let's give it a little bit more. Then, right about at the 30-ish minute mark into the film, which I know is quite a ways into a film, it just suddenly started being good out of absolutely nowhere. Now, I'm not going to say it was great. It's still probably the worst of the original 4 Pirates films. But it just suddenly started figuring out what it was doing. It was literally like you had two separate people who were writing the different sections of it, which is exactly the vibe I'm getting from here, which I know there were two people, but that's not how this works. You know, Megan McCarthy came up with the story idea, and New Dude wrote the script. It's such a weird thing. And this is not exactly the first or second or third time I've seen this in fiction. Yeah, Barbossa is actually legitimately awesome in Pirates 4. Easily one of the best characters, if not the best character in Pirates 4. They even had a good villain, Blackbeard. Type 4 villain. Yeah, the Spanish arrival scene was great. I agree with that. I agree with that. I think I'll give it a green. I can't go below green. The zombie section is just too awesome. But I think I will go ahead and give it a green. If it was... So, because to talk this out, if the whole episode was of the level of quality of the zombie section, this would probably be red to orange for me. If the whole episode was like the beginning of the episode, this would be dark blue. And that's why I'm just staring at this like... I don't know if it would be full black. I mean, I'd have to think about that, because I still think Flutterbutter was black, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, let's rate that as green. Below average. With that, let's go ahead and move on to the next episode, which is... What is our next episode?